Hey there, Jonathan Sports. Hope you all had a great weekend. Besides that tragedy of a game versus the Chargers, I really didn't make a video on it because, the season's over. There's just so many injuries. Mike Glennon's out there, no Daniel Jones. So what's the sense of sitting over here and harping on the same things that we've basically been seeing? This is just rinse and repeat all year with the Chargers. But from that game, there really was a couple players that really bothered me and have been bothering me throughout the season. So I want to call them out, put them on blast. And I also want to talk about a couple players that, in the secondary that I have been showing out and are young and looking like there will be replacements next year and part of the future. But the first player I want to talk about was James Bradberry. And I just do not get it. Last year, James Bradberry was probably had the best season in New York Giants cornerback ever. You could say Corey Webster, the playoff runs was pretty much shut down. So, I take that over, but for cornerback, James Bradberry was all pro. He was a shutdown last year. Make no mistake about it. And this year, he's dreadful. When he's not covering tight ends, he may be the worst cornerback on the field. In the last couple of weeks, his effort has been horrendous. At this point, unless last 4 games he reverts back in the corner he was last year, there's no way you can go to next year and pay him the kind of money that he's owed. You can't do it. It would be we suffer enough embarrassments here as Giants fan. Paying this guy like the 18 or whatever $1 million it is he's owed next year after this year's performance is unacceptable, and that would be even more embarrassing these games we have to watch. I think we saw when Janoris Jenkins was signed, he had that great first year, and the year after he fell off. Yeah, he wasn't the same player. You can't expect, all pro every year. I get that. There's not many cornerbacks that were all pro every year. But you can't go from the top 5 cornerback in NFL to maybe the 4th, 5th best cornerback on your team. Right now I couldn't even, I'd just take a wild guess. I'd say he's probably 90th, ranked cornerback in NFL right now, something like that. And that's giving him a little bit more than I should. I don't understand it. Same scheme. I guess the Giants early on in some games are running a little bit more man. And maybe it's just that, this dude is locked down in zone and just he can't play man. And it is what it is with him. Maybe that's what it is. If that's the case, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep sitting here in this zone and this prevent year after year after year after year. Especially when our offense is doo-doo. We need our defense to make some plays or make stops. And whatever's going on, whatever spark we had from the first year, it isn't here anymore. You're seeing this defense completely melt down at the end of games, and at the end of right before halftime, I don't know what it is. And the other big culprit this year has been Logan Ryan. I know he got hurt there for a little bit, but it's just Logan Ryan, James Bradberry, the same thing. They make these horrible, stupid mistakes. They jump on the wrong routes. Their effort is pitiful at times, and in the Chargers game, you saw him get toasted over the top. You can point your fingers at other players on his team, but Logan Ryan has not been good. He's missed tackles. He's been bad in coverage. With the kind of money he's making, you can't play like this. And I think really early on in the year, a lot of Giants fans were pointing towards Dalvin Tomlinson, and obviously, teams, it takes some time to adjust. But I really think the biggest reason I'm starting to lean to is James Bradberry and Logan Ryan. And now that Adoree Jackson is out, Bradberry has to play the best corner, the best wide receiver out there, and it's been a nightmare. He can't do it. He's getting burned. He's getting burned on 5-yard crossers, and he don't even give effort. He's trailing receivers. It's unbelievable that Logan Ryan and James Bradberry are playing like this. It's unbelievable considering the amount of money that they made and their projection, because especially James Bradberry, if he would have pulled strong for this contract, he could be making $20 million this next contract. That ain't happening now. After you put a season like this on tape, and the Giants are most likely going to cut him after the year, ain't nobody giving him a contract even close to where he got here before. So, at this point, he's just hurting himself. Not only is he hurting the team, but he's hurting himself. His pocketbook even worse than he's hurting the team. Although, listen, you guys know, if you're watching my channel, I'm not a pessimistic guy. I try and lean positive, and there has been some positives. The biggest positive on this team has been Xavier McKinney. he started out as rough a year as you can ask for, and Giants fans were getting on him. I've heard people complaining about his tackling, but I mean, it wasn't all. He's learning all new free safety stuff. He needs to learn route concepts and all that, and it finally just clicked for him. And we've seen the second half of the season, he has taken off, and he is a different player. And if he could sustain this playing level, we're in a good place for the future. I can reap all the praise possible. Unfortunately, we have to see it carry over to next year, because we've seen from how good you can be one year and how bad you can be the next season. So the other player I want to talk about is Aaron Robinson. He's actually been playing some outside, and I have been impressed with him. He's way much better than I thought he was going to be. Because I thought he was brought in here to, take over for Darnay Holmes, become that aggressive man press corner, like in the slot full time. But he has looked better on the outside than I thought. And what I was worried about with Aaron Robinson, I knew he was physical enough, but I was worried about him, his mental stuff. I was worried about that clicking for him. I figured, he'd have troubles on some concepts and, give up some big plays like we saw right before the half last game. But we haven't seen that. And I think the best thing that happened to him was actually having that injury and sitting out that first 7-8 weeks, however long it was. I think he really needed that for just to catch up at the NFL level. And if he can sustain this level of play for the rest of this year, I think that's good. That's something to build on. Right now, he's the second best cornerback on his team. It's unbelievable. Doherty, even just removing all of Doherty's tackling problems, is the best corner on his team. But Aaron Robinson has been neck and neck with him, and I think when you add in the physicality, I think it gives him a much higher ceiling than a Doherty. So looks like a couple of these free agent signings are kind of headed downhill and down the pooper along with this entire season. But as the football gods grace you with two great young players on the up and coming. So this video is kind of scattershot. It's just kind of just a wing it out there emotional thing. I didn't even take no notes. I just went for it. But we'll see if it works out or not. Let me know in the chat what you think of Aaron Robinson. Obviously, I know y'all love Xavier McKinney, unless you're just a complete Grinch. And give me thoughts on what is going on with James Bradberry. How do you go from top 5 to maybe the worst cornerback in the NFL? And Logan Ryan, what are your thoughts on him? Missing coverages and not tackling, and just let me know overall. Anyways, like, subscribe, peace.